great that you want to ride fastest or run fastest and all of that, but also think about what is the long-term effect. And don't go crazy because eh, unless your goal is to be the best person in the world and then to die, that's okay. But I don't know anyone like that.
This is Andrew Vance, and you're listening to Choose the Hard Way, where the world's top performers share lessons learned at the limits of human experience. High performance is for everyone. You are what you overcome. Choose the hard way. This episode is part of Life Cycles, a new series I've launched within Choose the Hard Way. Conversations in this series cover the topics you've come to expect from Choose the Hard Way, with guests whose lives and careers have been shaped by cycling, or whose lives and careers have shaped the world of cycling. Cycling has always been an important part of my life as a method of exploration, expression, and connection, and I'm excited to share these conversations with you. Since I launched this podcast in 2018, there have been many episodes that fit into this loose framework, and I've gotten great feedback from you about them, so it felt like it was time to go deeper in this direction. I'll still have regular episodes that have nothing to do with cycling at all, and whether you like bikes or not, I think you'll find something to love in every episode within the Life Cycles series. Please leave us an iTunes review. Even one word is great, and subscribe and give the show a 5-star rating on Spotify or iTunes. I love bringing you the stories of my guests, and I really appreciate you taking a second to support the show, which helps more people find it. Go to choosethehardway.com to sign up for our newsletter, and if you have feedback or would like to suggest a guest, DM at HardwayPod on Instagram or reach out to choosethehardway@gmail.com. You can find all of those links in the show notes. My guest is Dr. Gil Blander, the founder and chief scientific officer of Inside Tracker. Inside Tracker brings together blood biometric data, DNA insights, and fitness tracker data to create science-backed action plans for people to manage their health and performance. Dr. Blander has a PhD in biology from the Weizmann Institute of Science and completed his postdoctoral fellowship at MIT. He's an expert in nutrition, performance, biochemistry, and aging research, and he's also a cyclist. You can learn more at InsideTracker.com and find Dr. Blander on Twitter at GBlander1. As always, those links are in the show notes.
So you have the lifespan. So it's basically how long you live from the moment that you're born to the moment that you die. And then you have the health span. And the health span means it's not enough to live. It's also important to allow you to climb a mountain, to for me, bike around, to travel the world, to feel well and to enjoy life. So health span is basically the time that you are still able to move around and have fun. I can give you an example. I went yesterday to a show of Genesis, Phil Collins. I'm sure that you heard about him.
I love Phil Collins and I love Genesis. So
me too. But I was surprised because Phil Collins, I think that he's 70. And it was very sad for me that he sat on a chair all the show. He can barely move. He had the cane that he had to move from side to side. And it was really sad. I love Phil Collins. He's like one of the goddess of music. And suddenly you see that this guy is barely move around. So I'm saying I'm not sure that he's still in his health span. I think that he started to get out of his health span. And that's exactly health span.
He might have gotten more out of his health span in a more compressed time, though. I have this feeling.
It could be.
I think that's perhaps part of that lifestyle. But while we're talking about Phil Collins, if you had to pick between Sussudio and I Can Feel It Coming in the Air Tonight, what's it going to be?
For me, it's I Can Feel It Coming in the Air Tonight.
What do you like about that track?
I think that it's amazing. It's make your mood somehow. I don't know. It's make me happy, and that's what I use music for. It's like relaxing, make you happy. All of us are working so hard, so having some time that you are relaxed is what I'm looking for.
I love the big drum breakdown in the middle of I Can Feel It Coming in the Air Tonight, where it's like, where the drums really kick in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that good live?
Very good. I think that the music was amazing. I'm in Boston, so I went to the TD Banknorth, and the quality was amazing. But it was sad because he's old, and his voice is not as it used to be before. And so the band is still great, but the singing, I wouldn't say that it was amazing.
That's really interesting. So the quality of his voice has changed over time.
Yeah, of course, we are getting older. Voice is part of it.
Yeah, you have to maintain your instrument.
Yeah, but
right?
It's very hard to maintain your voice, I assume. It's part of aging.
How did you find yourself drawn to this work, into starting this company?
Yeah, so I'm a scientist in background, a PhD in biology from the Weizmann Institute in Israel. And I came to the US in 2002 to do a postdoctoral fellowship at MIT in one of the best labs that's studying aging. And I was and still really fascinated by the aging process. And I want to find a way for us to live forever, to delay the onset of aging-related diseases, to improve the health span, not only the lifespan. And when I arrived to MIT, I started to be exposed to the Cambridge environment of Kendall Square. And for anyone that doesn't know what is that, is the 1 mile around MIT that's called Kendall Square. That is an area that you have maybe thousands of companies, biotech, high-tech, pharmaceutical. For example, Moderna Pharmaceutical, the company that developed the antibody for, the vaccine for COVID-19 is from this area. And I started to realize that maybe I can help people live longer, better life better if I will start my own company than being a professor in the academia. So I left MIT and spent a couple of years in the industry just learning what is the industry. And then I came with the idea of InstaTracker together with a couple of other scientists. And the idea is very simple. How can we help people live better, longer life based on what's happening inside the body? And also using simple and natural intervention. So I don't want them to take drugs. I want them to change their nutrition. I want them to change their exercise routine. I want them to change their supplementation and change their lifestyle. So basically everything that is natural and simple and not medical is great. And that was the idea. And I started the company in 2009, as I said, with a few other scientists. And we are doing that in the last, let's say, 11 or 12 years, and I'm having a lot of fun. It's a great cause. We have, as you said before, we have an amazing team. And I think that we are seeing a lot of uptake from our users. It wasn't easy, let's say, 12 years ago, because everyone looked at me as a crazy guy. What are you talking about? Changing everything based on what's happening inside and natural intervention. But with time, I think that people started to get to the view that I had 12 years ago. And I think that now is in mainstream. Everyone's thinking about it. Everyone wants to optimize his body. It's basically the most important machine that you have in your life is your body. And we are not always taking care of our body as good as we are taking care of other machines, such as our car. So I think that it's becoming a mainstream, and I'm very excited about that.
And in 2009, honestly, Gil, it all sounds so simple. You knew a few scientists, you had this idea. Here we are 12 years later. You have a company that it's incredibly popular right now. You hear about it everywhere. But at that moment in time, how did you find the other scientists with whom you came up with the idea, and what was that actually like to get from an idea to, hey, we're going to start this company?
It's very hard, and I'm sure that you know and heard, and it's very, very hard. But I think that you need to find the people that believe in you and can work with you, because you hear 99% of the time no, and 1% of the time yes, but you need to continue to be happy about the yes. So I can give you an example. Professor David Sinclair, that I'm sure that you heard about. He is a professor at Harvard, and he used to done the postdoc in the same lab that I done the postdoc at MIT. Now he's very popular and he's talking about aging and maybe one of the leader in the aging field. I came to David and told him about my idea. And David told me, Gil, it's funny. I also thought about it and I wanted to start a company about it. But because you are starting it and I really appreciate you, I will join you. So I was starting to assemble a team like that of scientists and also business people that had the same mission and maybe being a bit ahead of the curve and wanted to do something and realized that it might be a long journey, but that's fine. We'll do that. And I was fortunate enough to have people like David Sinclair and others that believe in me and allow me to continue to do that.
At that time, did you have ideas for other potential businesses, or was this the one that you thought, I must do this one, or were there other ones that you considered?
Yeah, I think that luckily that was the one. And because I think that when you have too many, you are starting to be scattered around. So that was the one, and I focused on that like a horse with a blinder in a way. I just done that, and I'm still just doing that. It's so much work. So I couldn't imagine doing anything else other than InstaTracker.
What other jobs did you have before you got into academia, science, and then industry? Did you do anything else growing up?
Yeah, so as a kid, I done some stuff, but as a during the vacations. But I haven't had a real job other than working a bit in biotech companies before I started this company. So I learned a lot, and I haven't done any business school. So I learned a lot by myself, and I made a lot of mistakes, plenty of mistakes. Hopefully, I learned from them. And also, I was lucky to have some of the team member at InstaTracker that been coaching me, because again, I haven't learned before. So our executive chairman of the board, somehow I bumped to him, 2 years after I started the company. And he was excited about the company, invested in the company, very, very successful entrepreneur, sold a couple of companies to, let's say, to a big companies. And he's gave me a lot of advice and support. So I think that it's very important to have a support mechanism. A couple of years after that, I hired the CEO to run the company, which we are still working together. And again, I'm very lucky because in a lot of companies, I heard a lot of bad stories about how the founder and the CEO cannot work together. And somehow we work very well together. He's joking that he knows me better than my wife, and I think that he's right. We know each other so well that it is crazy. So I think that I was really lucky to find the right people and to work with the right people, and all of us have the same vision and mission, and we are working together very well.
Now, Gil, did you have a sense of the things that you were not good at as you were starting and building the business, or did other people point them out to you? How did you come to that conclusion?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that my view, and again, I done it only once, so I cannot say that I see pattern, but my view is for every stage of the company, you need maybe some different kind of people and different kind of skill set. So at the early time, it's like people that have a lot of hats, okay? They can do 1 hour that and 1 hour that and 1 hour that. And then in our stage right now, I think that we are around 100 employees. People need to have one hat, maybe two hats, but you cannot. So the people that wear a lot of hats either need to change and move to wear one or two hats, or they are not a good fit. And I think that that's maybe something that I'm a challenge that I'm facing right now, because I used to be a very good multiple hats, and now I need to settle down to be more like a much less amount of hats person. And it is a challenge. Again, the executive team helping me, and I actually started to use an executive coach that working with me a bit and helping me to get settled down into my new role, because it changed and it's changing all the time, and it's not easy.
What have you gotten out of working with that coach, and what do you work on?
So he mainly work with me on management skills. So again, I never took any management class, and I never been in a business school. So he's helping me in management skills and giving me some tools, and also helping me with challenges that I face during the working time. So I think that it's beneficial to have someone like that basically is independent. Because if I'm going, I will go and ask the CEO or the executive chairman. They have their own angle. They have their own interest. This person doesn't have any interest in the company, so it's very unbiased, and I can, let's say, trust his view better than someone that is inside and have his own interest.
And what do you enjoy most about what you're doing right now?
Yeah, so I'm mainly innovation guy and development. So I really like to do that. That's my favorite thing, to come to a scientific problem and solve it, or take a idea and make a product from that. So I think that's my sweet point and what I enjoy the most. So basically science and innovation. But I would also like to do what we are doing right now, to have some communication. And last year we started a podcast called Longevity by Design, that I maybe married two different passions that I have. One is public speaking, like what we are doing today, but also the other one is my passion about longevity. So I'm interviewing all the best and the greatest in aging research. We done like 8 last year, and this year we want to do much more because it's really exciting and our audience really like it. Every week now I'm interviewing another scientist, and it is a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. I'm sure that you know that because you're doing it, a lot of research, but it's a lot of fun to meet the best and the greatest and the smartest, and try to extract their brain and see all the juices, the good juices that they have. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping by the end of this, I've fully extracted your brain. So
Okay.
we'll see if we achieve that. But something that you mentioned, Gil, is you really like to focus on the innovation aspect, or that's where you like to spend your time the most. And how do you find that you do your best thinking? Are there any specific conditions, time of day? Do you do it alone? Do you do it with other people? Are you working on physical paper, a whiteboard, on a computer? Where do you do your best thinking, and how do you do it?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's not easy to answer, let's say. But I think that for me, I'm more like a visual person, and I like to do it in a group. So, for example, we established what we call Innovation Lab at the company a couple of months ago. So I started to select the team members to work with me, and we are having like lab meeting every week for an hour that all of us are sitting together. Not always in the same place because, as you know now with COVID, and I don't know what happened in your company, but to our company, people started to diffuse and go to the place that they love. So we have people in Colorado and in Flagstaff and San Diego, people in Miami. People move to the places that are fun for them to stay, and that's okay. So So we are sitting together, and basically what I'm trying to do with them, I'm giving each of them a task. And then they are reporting for the task, and the team is sitting together and giving some comments about the task, and then we're meeting again and again. So that's the way that I'm doing innovation with the team. For me, the time that I have my best ideas are when I'm cycling, and not on the peloton in the winter in Boston, because then you have the trainer shouting at you. But it's when I'm going outside, and I live in Boston, so I have a nice circle around Concord and Carlisle. I don't know if you know this area. It's very beautiful. So it's like, I don't know, 1.5 hours or 2 hours of cycling, and my brain is completely free. And I'm coming back, going to my computer and starting to type a lot of ideas. That's literally my best time when I'm cycling outside.
When you're on the bike and you have a great idea, do you just pause and keep recycling the idea and kind of churning it in your head? Because I'll share with you that one of the dilemmas I sometimes have, because I also find that when I cycle, ideas will come to me, and I always have that debate about, do I pull over and make a note in my phone or send myself a text or like do a voice memo, or do I keep going? And is the idea going to germinate and get better, or am I going to forget it? So I'm curious how you approach that.
Yeah, it's a very good question, and it's a challenge for me as well. So I tend not to stop. But if I have like one break during the cycling, because I don't like to cycle more than an hour without break, because I want to feed myself and fuel myself. So if it's before the break, I will take my phone exactly and send me an email or a note. And if it's after the break, I will take the idea with me, and immediately when I will come home, I will take it on my computer. That's the way that I'm doing it.
Do you use voice messages or voice recordings at all to capture your ideas or share ideas at this point?
No, I don't. I usually just capture it as a text. No, I'm not doing it. But it's a good idea. I haven't thought about it.
Yeah, personally, I'm trained as a writer, and I've been a professional writer, communicator for almost 25 years now. And I've been experimenting recently with voice messages, voice recordings as a method of capturing ideas, which is really different for me. And it's a different type of thinking. It's not as comfortable to me. I don't know if it's effective or not yet, but it's something I'm experimenting with.
So I'm not a writer at all, and actually, if you look at my writing, I'm trying to write. My way of writing is write the little amount of word as possible. So I'm very concise because I'm not a good writer, and I don't enjoy it. Let's say. So for me, it can be like a one sentence, and then I understand all of it from the one sentence. That's my way, very concise.
It sounds like you're a great writer then, because you want to make it as simple as possible and no simpler. That's that's really the best writing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it sounds like that's a great method for you. So other than that, so you kind of find like cycling and being active, that's when your brain really gets moving. Do you do that at a particular time of day, or do you just fit it in when you can?
Yeah, I'm trying to do it as early as possible. So usually I try to exercise in the morning. I wake up, get ready, and go and exercise. I already done it for this morning, for example. In the weekend, I might do it later, but a normal day, it's like, I would say 7 a.m. or 6:30 a.m. I'm already on the bike. That's what I'm doing.
Do you have a temperature limit? For me, I don't really like to road cycle if it's under probably 45 degrees Fahrenheit. What about you?
50.
50?
Yeah, I done it once with the gloves that you have the cut, and I got to the stop, and my finger got frozen, and it took me 20 minutes to warm them up. I done like that for 20 minutes. I said never below, and it was 48. So I said never below 50. Yeah.
Yeah, it stops being fun once it's under 50 degrees.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So with cycling or with other physical activities in relation to health span, how do you think about high performance versus health? And I know for people like you and me, being active, it's probably more about health, but for people who are high performing athletes, they have a slightly different balance. They're making slightly different dietary choices, for example, and it's not always something that promotes health, I don't think.
I agree. So, so I think that you can do both, but I think that some of us, and especially the younger population, that let's say the Olympian or let's say the professional athletes, they are making a decision to be in their best, and it's not always overlap with a longevity, let's say. They can do some decision for career longevity, which is a bit similar to longevity. And we can take, for example, Tom Brady. So he is, I think that he's close to 45, and he's still playing almost in, let's say that he's still playing well. He won the Super Bowl, so nobody can say that he's not playing well. And I think that what he have done is taking care of his body pretty well. He's eating very carefully, he's sleeping well, and taking all the right decision to maintain his body for as long as possible. I know that a lot of athletes are not doing that. So, for example, it's might be more important for an athlete like that to take a day off than to exercise again. And there are a lot of, let's say, signal that you can receive either from the blood biomarkers that we have or from some physiological marker. Physiological marker for me are all the fitness tracker, like Garmin and Strava connect them all together, but Apple Watch and the Fitbit and all of those, they are giving you a lot of information that if you will act upon, it might increase your career longevity, because I know that you want to win this race, but you also need to think about what after the race. The race is, it's like when you're climbing a mountain, and let's say that your lifetime goal was to climb the Everest. You done it. What next? You don't want to die tomorrow, correct? You want to maybe climb K2. And I think that that's what people need to understand. I don't think that you need to get and do something at all cost. At all cost is not good, because it's, again, I don't know anyone that want to win the competition and then die. So think about that. Win it, or try to win it, but then you have another mountain to climb, so think about the other mountain. Don't empty all the battery that you have only for that competition. Keep some reserve, because that's not good for your body. And I can give you an example. There are a lot of athletes, especially females, that lose their cycle during exercise because they are malnutrition, they are putting their body in stress. And when you are in stress, basically that signal to your body, okay, this person is not good for reproduction. And that's what happened with them. They lose the cycle. That's not good. So if you are an athlete that listening to that, and you are a female and you have this issue, the best solution is take it a bit easy. Take a day off. Don't be in a BMI of below 18. Eat more. And maybe get a professional help to help you to get out of it. Because if it will be chronic, maybe you won't get out of it. And that's bad.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how do you find most people using Inside Tracker? How do they use the product?
So they start by, usually they start by buying it and basically using the blood data and receiving the recommendation. And what is interesting at that stage is that a lot of them see a lot of surprise, because especially let's talk about those athletic, active, super duper, look great from the outside. They are, 25, not a wrinkle in their face, all muscle, 4% fat and all of that. But then suddenly they look inside and they say, oh, I have high cholesterol. Simple stuff, like I have high cholesterol, or my glucose is slightly high. Or a lot of them find that their iron is low, and they don't know about it, especially women, but also especially runners, so it's also in males. And they don't know that. And suddenly they say, oh, I eat the wall. And it's why I eat the wall? It's not a big enigma. You don't have enough iron, and you don't have enough iron. How can you take the oxygen from your lung to the muscle without iron? So I haven't seen anyone that have been completely optimized, okay? And we have a lot of users. So then the first is the surprise, oh, wow, I'm not superhuman anymore. And then realization, okay, I can act upon, because I have a low iron, I can change my nutrition, I can change my supplementation, I maybe can change my exercise routine a bit, like runners. You don't have to run every day. Maybe hop on the bike or do some strength training, or do yoga. So there are a lot of things like that. So that's at the beginning. And then they are starting to add also the fitness trackers, and also doing a DNA test. And suddenly they realize, oh, I have a high definition picture of my body. So it's not like only a bit of blood. I also have the DNA that giving me a once of a lifetime, or maybe my what is my potential, basically. Because again, I'm not LeBron James, so even if I'll sit on the court and try to shoot hoops every day for 50,000 times, I won't be LeBron James. Okay, it's the genetics. He's one of a kind. So it's, but if we're taking it a bit more seriously, if you look at your cholesterol and you see that you have high cholesterol, but you also have a high risk to have high cholesterol based on your genetics, then you know that you need to work harder. It's genetics. So you need to work harder. I always see genetics as the cards that you receive at the casino in, let's say, Las Vegas, and the lifestyle are the way that you are playing the card. So you might receive a bad cards, but if you are a good player, you might beat someone else that got a better card. So I think that nobody can come and say, "Oh, it's my genetics." No, that's crazy. I actually have seen a presentation of a very esteemed scientist yesterday that look at triglyceride, which is a marker of lipids in your body, and she looked at I think maybe thousands of identical twins. So basically, identical twins have exactly the same DNA. And she looked at the variability of the triglyceride in this population. And what she found is that at least 50% of the level of triglyceride is controlled by our lifestyle. So only 50%, or maybe lower than that, is by our genetics. So again, it's very important to know your genetic and your potential, but you can play the card and beat the other person, or beat the triglyceride with the right lifestyle. And then you have the fitness tracker data or the physiological data. You receive it maybe every 20 milliseconds. We are looking at some that are not changing so much. So it's resting heart rate and the deep sleep and REM sleep and all that. And you also can receive a lot of real scientific recommendation about that. And act upon. So I think that the mix of all of that together make people really excited about that, and then they're starting to be addicted and testing again and again, because it's not once in a lifetime. You need to do it again and again, and again, as I said before, our machine is so complex. So today my triglyceride is not great, tomorrow my glucose might not be okay, or the day after my vitamin D might be low, and the day after, my cortisol or stress is going to be high. So testing more and more is great, because first you have your baseline and you understand the baseline, and then suddenly if something will start going out of range, you'll see it. It's exactly like when you look at your resting heart rate or HRV and say, oh, it's going like that, and suddenly it's going like that, yeah, most likely you are sick. So those are great thing to do more and more, and start young, because then you establish the baseline and you see what's happening. So that's how I see it. It's like starting dating and being a bit cautious about it. And then with time, you are getting more and more hooked into that and using it more and more. It's literally a tool that you should use all of your life. It's not a silver bullet at all.
And do you find that when people receive the data, that it then leads to behavior change? And what have you observed about that?
Yeah, definitely. I'm hearing a lot of stories about people that change their completely nutrition. A lot of people, let's say our society, and let's say the side of the society, because currently we are catering to the warrior well, to the athletic active, to the longevity crowd. So those people are a lot of time hearing something in the news, oh, take this supplement is great, or I don't know, take a multivitamin is great. And suddenly they're testing and we are showing them some markers saying, hey, you're taking too many supplements. So a lot of the time you can see that they are dropping a lot of supplements that they are doing, and actually they are saving a lot of money. And instead of having like an umbrella and saying, okay, I'll take a lot of supplement, then oh, I need the vitamin D because my vitamin D is low, but my vitamin B12 is great, so I don't need to take it, and I don't need multivitamin. So you see a lot of things like that people are not only adding new stuff, but also removing some behavior that they had because it wasn't good for them.
And I've heard you talk about this idea of micro choices and the hundreds and hundreds of micro choices people make in a day, and what those add up to over time. And I know you're not BJ Fogg, you're not a behavioral psychologist, and
not at all.
Habit formation is not your specialty, but what are your thoughts about micro choices as they relate to how one can change or improve biomarkers? How do you think about that?
I think that it's all about that. because it's not, again, there is not one decision that we are doing that will kill us. There are, if you look back and let's say that the average American live 82 years. So we made millions, maybe billions of choices. Some of them are positive, some of them are negative. And what I want InstaTracker to do, or what I want to do, is to be the guardian angel of health and help every user to do to make the best choice for him or her. And I realize that a lot of time they will make the bad choice, but then I want to come and help them in the next one to make the better choice in order to take them to the right direction. And let me give you an example. I really like the analogy of the Waze. Waze is the navigation system. So if you think about it, what is cool about Waze? It's taking you from point A to point B. It's also, every time if he told you to go left and you went right, it will tell you, okay, not a problem. I will correct you, Andrew, and now take the left, okay? So that's one. The second one, it's taking into account the traffic. So it might take you in the longer way, mileage-wise, but it will be the shortest way time-wise, okay? Another way that Waze is doing is telling you in the way whether there is, if you run out of gasoline, find the cheapest gas station for you. And if you want to eat something, it will immediately show around you all the restaurants that you can eat from. So I want to develop, and that's what the project that I'm working now in the innovation, the ways for personalized nutrition. I call it nutrition solution, okay? So basically, every time that you are in a fork, let's say that, Andrew, you want to eat in a restaurant, okay? Let's assume that you open your smartphone, put a pin, and then we'll come and tell you, Andrew, for you, restaurant A is the best for you, restaurant B is the second best for you, and restaurant C is the third best for you. And then you decide. Let's say that you decided C. Why? Because you like Mexican food.
I do like Mexican food. It's good. Yeah.
You see, I know you. You went to restaurant C, and then immediately on your phone, hey, Andrew, we've seen that you made the decision of restaurant C. Now the best dish for you is A, the second best is B, and the third is C, and maybe you have also D. And then so basically every time, instead of you coming to restaurant, I don't know about you, but every time that I'm coming to a restaurant, I'm spending all my CPU going on okay, what should I do? There are like 200 different things, and what is the best for me? What I like? What is my mood? And all. Then, if you have something that can say, Andrew, A, B, C, D. A is the best, B is the second best. And if you want to know why, A is the best because you have a low vitamin D and high glucose. That's why A is the best for you. So think about that. Then suddenly you have a guardian angel for health every time, or the ways that every time that you need to make a decision, InstaTracker can either push the information to you, or you can pull from us. For example, in the morning, today you can come and say, hey, InstaTracker, what should I eat for breakfast? And immediately you can come and say, hey, based on what you have in your refrigerator and pantry, that's what you should eat for breakfast today. That's the best for you.
Wow. So that's where you see things going.
That's what we are working on, yeah.
Where do you think you'll be in 10 years?
You mean the company or me, myself, or?
Where do you, all of the above, where do you think the technology is going? What do you want to see it doing?
Yeah.
Where do you want to take the company? Where do you want to be? Cycling, probably, right? Cycling more?
I have a friend that actually had an exit and made a lot of money. Now he's cycling all over the world. It's basically, that's what he's doing. You have a bicycle with and he's cycling for months. No, but I'm not sure that I want to do that. I want to continue to do what I like, is basically building InstaTracker. But I think that technology-wise, I think that a lot will come from our smartphone. So instead of going to the lab, we might be able to pee on our iPhone, spit on our iPhone, and bleed on our iPhone. And then immediately we'll have the result. So basically, maybe you woke up in the morning and you put a drop of blood on your iPhone, and they take some urine and put it on your iPhone, and spit a bit next to your iPhone. And then we'll tell you, good morning, Andrew. This is the result that you have today. I know that you wanted to do usually on Thursday you are doing the 5-hour ride. Today is not the right day for you. yoga is great for you, and after the yoga, you should eat that and that. We recommend you to eat that and that. And basically, every morning you wake up, like, I don't know, I wake up and looking at my calendar, you wake up, do whatever you know, and then we'll have a plan for you to optimize Andrew for the day. That's how I see it.
When you need to make challenging decisions for the business or as it relates to innovation, what is your process like? Are you very data driven? Do you like to look at the data on your own? Do you like to talk to other experts? How do you solicit advice and feedback, and then how do you make the decision?
Yeah, I think that I'm doing all of the above. I like to think by myself. At first, I want to come with my view. And then I think that it's not only other people in the company. I think that you need to talk with your audience, your users. So, for example, in this endeavor that we are doing, I had a few surveys with our users, and because I had a few other options to do, and heard from them, and then that allowed me a bit to refine it, and then go again to them and refine it a bit more. And I think that because it's not like when I started the company that it's I could do whatever I want. Now we have an audience that like it, and you don't want to offend them, but also you have a power of that audience that instead of having one brain or 10 brain or 100 brain, you have maybe millions of brains. Okay, so let's use those brains, and I really like to hear what our users are saying, and what are their challenges, and how can we help them to solve them.
What do you hear from them?
What challenges they have?
Yeah, like, are there any common themes that pull through that have informed how you're thinking about innovation in the future?
Yeah, I think that they really like what we are doing, but they feel that it's not as good as they want, that they can use it all day, and I think that they want a very smart recommendation, and they realize, which I really like, that the InstaTracker is not only looking and saying, hey, I have a high glucose, but it's also telling me what to do, which I took us some time to do that, but now they want the next level, exactly what I explained to you before. They want us to be the guardian angel for health and support them because they have a challenge. I can give you an example. I interviewed one of our users, and he told me he's a very successful entrepreneur. And he said, listen, Gil, I'm working very hard. I'm coming home, and I have a few options. The easiest option is to pick up the phone and order pizza. The other option is to sit in the kitchen and cook for 2 hours. So I want you to give me a solution that is 20 minutes that will be the best for me, but I only have 20 minutes. I'm too tired to do more. So that's exactly what our users want. They want us to give them the best solution that they can do based on their constraint. I have 20 minutes. I'm going to a restaurant. So everyone knows that going to the restaurant is not the best decision, but there are but you can have the local best for this decision of going to the restaurant. Or I'm going for an exercise, and I came back from the exercise. What should I do next? How can I refuel my body? How can I prepare my body for exercise before exercise? So everyone have a different challenge, but I think that if you look at all of it together, they need to make a lot of micro decisions, as you said, and they want to make a good decision. Everyone wants to make the good decision, but it's very hard to know at the moment what is the right decision. Not everyone have a time to read a 50 article to know exactly what is the right decision at that moment. So that's what they want.
When you look at the research and look into the future, what technologies besides yours are you really excited about that you think could be game changers in this space?
Yeah, so I think that it's a lot of, again, there is no one technology, but there are a lot of things that can come together. So, for example, continuous glucose monitoring, or CGM, is very interesting. I think that today it's, I really like it. I done it. I don't know if you done it or not, but it's giving you a lot of information. And I think that for the average person, it's very hard to synthesize them. So I think that using the continuous glucose monitoring is great, but today it's making people become really worried, and there is not enough synthesis and allowing you to do that like for 2 weeks, and then coming telling you, okay, Andrew, based on that, we found that this food is not good for you, this food is good for you, this exercise is good for you. So basically coming with a bucket list instead of pouring a lot of information on you. So that's one that is really interesting. Another technology that are really interesting, and I think that we have a lot of challenge with, because it's very easy to know calorie out, because Apple Watch, Garmin, and all of that can really easily capture seamlessly what you are doing, and then we can use it and know, okay, Andrew burned today, I don't know, 4,000 calories. It's very hard to know about the calorie in and the quality and the fueling. So there are some cool technologies that starting to come with using the smartphone camera and basically just doing something like that around the dish, and you know what is the what do you have on the dish, but also what is the amount in milliliter that you have there, and then I can tell you exactly how much vitamin D you consume and how much B12 and how much carbs. So I think that that's another cool technology that I want to use. Other technologies, I'm not sure that it's technologies, but all the new databases that you have about recipes and supermarkets and understanding data about, we haven't discussed it at all, but all the clock, basically the aging clock or the age clock. I think that the technology there are really interesting. We have one. There are one that is really interesting, that is a epigenetic clock that I would like to incorporate into our platform. So there are a lot of new technologies that are coming. I think that it's a great timing. The challenge right now is they integrate them together. So basically, like what Strava done for exercise in a way, how can we do that for nutrition and personalized nutrition and all of that? And I think that InstaTracker is positioning very well to do that. So that's what excites me.
Yeah, there's such a proliferation of technologies, ideas, data synthesis happening in the wellness, health, and human performance spaces. Equally, it kind of blows my mind sometimes how little we actually seem to know about how the human body functions. Just as for example, I don't know if you read this article, but I read an article this week about a study about metabolism done on former contestants on The Biggest Loser. I don't know if you read that one, but
no, I haven't read it.
Yeah, so it talked about set point theory, which is something I'm not super familiar with and I'm not expert in. But basically the idea that if you have very rapid weight loss, it actually could decelerate your metabolism and create a much lower set point for your basal metabolic rate. And then if you've been very active and doing a lot of exercise in order to lose that weight in a short period of time, during rest, your body is basically, as I understood the article, conserving energy, so that when you remove the stimulus of constant exercise, it actually becomes really, really hard to maintain the weight loss because your basal metabolic rate is actually dropped as a consequence of being really active. And that, I thought, wow, like that's a really, really interesting idea. And it seems very different than generally what we understand about calories in, calories out, exercise creating like an afterburn effect or elevating your metabolism. So I'm really excited to continue to learn more and see what's happening in the space. And I've used InsideTracker myself. I found it to be very interesting. Just as you said, getting the data, being able to look at the results and then think about what potential habits or behavioral changes might I want to make. And consider, I'm not, I'm a very low level amateur competitive athlete, but I do enjoy it. So I kind of have to think about, for me, what's that balance between, I want health, I want longevity, I want to be around for my kids. Being a dad's really my number one job in life. And versus, you know what, I actually want to go really fast on my bike. Right. And like that doesn't pay the bills. It makes me happy, but they require slightly different choices. So if I want to go really fast on a bike, and within the world of competitive cycling and endurance sports right now, people are actually during exercise and during events, they're trying to find out ways to maximize their ability to metabolize sugar, basically. So like, how can I get the highest load of sugar during exercise? And you can actually train your body to do that so that you can synthesize over 100 grams of carb in an hour. You combine that with exogenous ketones, and your body is just like on rocket fuel when you're training. However, the impact of that on the liver over time, I believe, is actually unknown. I don't think we know if that's, even if it makes you go really fast and you end up being a very lean, mean machine, 10 years of that, like, what does that do to your body? I don't know.
Yeah. No, definitely the sugar is not, especially refined sugar, is not something that is good for us, for sure. And it's not only the liver. I think that it's the pancreas and the beta cells and the creation of the insulin. You think about it, if you load that, how much insulin you create and how hard the beta cells are working, and they are, it's like any other machine. If they're working very hard, they will start working sooner than later. So I'm 100% with you. We need to be careful, and I think that's how we started. It's great that you want to ride fastest or run fastest and all of that, but also think about what is the long-term effect, and don't go crazy, because unless your goal is to be the best person in the world and then to die, that's okay. But I don't know anyone like that. So think about the side effect of that in the future. And I think that they are bad, and you can see it with athletes. You can see that a lot of athletes, especially professional athletes, are not living long because they carry all the burden that they, either concussion or all the injuries that they had, and all the hard work that they done. It's not physiologically right. And so try to not to kill yourself. And if you need a day off, take a day off. Nothing will happen.
There's nothing wrong with taking a day off.
No?
Now, so to jump back to something we touched on really briefly, you mentioned you, of course, have the Inside Tracker podcast. And I'm curious, what have you learned from all of the podcasts that you've done, having been a guest on many podcasts, having interviewed many people? What have you gotten out of that?
Yeah, I got a lot, but I think that I agree with the statement that you said. We are still don't know a lot, and we need to learn a lot. So I really like to learn. I'm also trying to listen to podcasts as much as I can, and definitely reading a lot. So I think that there is a wealth of data outside, but we still don't know a lot. And that's why we should feel so lucky to have all the scientists that are doing the experiment. And think about what they've done with COVID. Like science is so important, and all of us need to appreciate what the scientists are doing, and they don't focus on politics and the bad thing, and I know the right wing or the left wing. We have a great country, or we have a great world. We have a great people in the world. And we need to appreciate each other and let everyone to do his job, and especially for the scientists, that it's great that every one of them is studying whatever he has a passion for, because that will help us, hopefully, to be a better society. And in my example, in longevity, I really think that we will find in the future something that will allow us to significantly increase the lifespan. I'm not sure that will happen today or in our lifetime, but in the meantime, we can use services like InstaTracker that will allow us to optimize ourselves and optimize our health span, and not only the lifespan. And that's what's important. As you said, you want to be with your kids. I already have a kids. I want to be with my grandchildren. And I want to, climb a mountain and take a hiking trip and have fun with the family and watch Genesis. I know that's what, and everyone want to do it. And so in order to do that, you need to take care of the most important machine that you have.
Very true. Gil, thanks so much for joining me today. Thanks for giving us more information about how to take care of our machines. And if people want to learn more about you or Inside Tracker, where should they go?
Yeah, they can go to instatracker.com, And we are also on all the social, Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and they can find us.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Gil.
Thank you, Andrew. It was a pleasure.
If you have questions, comments, feedback, or want to suggest a guest, please reach out to @HardwayPod on social or email me at choosethehardway@gmail.com. Please take a moment to hit 5 stars in Spotify or iTunes and leave a one-word review. That helps more people connect with the powerful stories my guests share, and I really appreciate the support. You are what you overcome. Choose the hard way.